If you ever find the same person in two different photographs, you should probably stop looking. I didn't, and I think that's the reason he's still following me. The first picture was completely normal. At least that's what I thought. It was taken in the summer of 2012, and I was 16 years old. 3 friends, a cheap camera, a lake outside a small town in Pennsylvania. The kind of photograph people forget exists. I hadn't seen it in years. 3 months ago, my mother asked me to help organize old family pictures for my grandparents' anniversary. So I dug out an external hard drive filled with thousands of photos from high school, college, road trips, birthdays, random weekends, and everything in between. Hours passed, nothing interesting, and then I opened that picture. At first, I was only looking at myself. Everyone does that. You check your old haircut, your old clothes, the way you used to smile. Then my eyes drifted toward the trees behind us. There was somebody standing there, far enough away that I almost missed him. A tall man, dark jacket, hands at his sides, watching. Not watching us, watching the camera. Something about it bothered me. Not enough to scare me, just enough to make me zoom in. The image quality was terrible. His face looked like a blur. I remember thinking, that's creepy. Then I moved on. A few minutes later, I opened another photograph. Different year, different place, different people, and there he was again. Same postures, same dark clothing, same impossible stare. This time he was standing near a gas station, again in the background, again facing the camera. I froze, not because I believed anything supernatural, because I didn't. I started looking for a logical explanation. Maybe it wasn't the same guy. Maybe my brain was connecting patterns that weren't there. Maybe it was confirmation bias. So I opened more pictures. Another one, another. By midnight, I had a folder containing 27 photographs, 27 separate moments, across 12 years. And the same man appeared in every single one. I wish that had been the strangest part, and it wasn't. The strangest part was the distance. In the oldest photos, he was barely visible, a tiny shape near the horizon. In later images, he appeared across streets, then parking lots, then inside buildings, then behind groups of people. Every year he seemed closer. Not dramatically, just enough that you wouldn't notice unless you were comparing images side by side, like something approaching while you're asleep. One step at a time, too slowly to see, too steadily to ignore. I called my best friend Ryan, and we'd known each other since middle school. Half the photos included him. I showed him the folder. At first he laughed, then he stopped. The silence lasted almost a minute. Finally, he asked me something that made my stomach tighten. Do you remember ever seeing him? I thought about it, really thought about it, and the answer was no. Not once, not ever. I had thousands of memories attached to those photographs, but not a single memory involving the man. No conversations, no introductions, no accidental encounters, nothing. Only pictures. Ryan didn't have any memories either. That should have reassured me, and instead it made everything worse. Because now there were 2 possibilities. Either we were both remembering things incorrectly, or the man had never actually been there. The next few days became an obsession. I searched every backup drive I owned, old Facebook albums, Google Photos, and Instagram archives, cloud storage, anything connected to a camera. And I kept finding him, always present, always watching, and always moving closer. Then I found the first photograph that genuinely scared me. It was taken inside a restaurant, a casual place near Pittsburgh. I was sitting by a window. The camera had captured both me and my reflection in the glass. The man stood outside. At first, everything looked normal. Then I zoomed in. His eyes weren't aimed at the camera. They weren't aimed at the photographer. They were aimed directly at my reflection. He wasn't looking at the picture. He was looking at where I had been standing. That realization sat in my chest like ice. For the first time, I considered deleting the folder, and instead I kept digging. That was a mistake, because a week later I discovered something far worse than the man himself. I discovered he wasn't only appearing in my photographs. He was appearing in photographs taken by other people. Photos I had never owned. Photos I had never seen. Photos stored on accounts that weren't mine. And every single time, he was somewhere behind me. At first I thought it was impossible. There had to be some explanation. Maybe someone was editing the pictures. Maybe I was being pranked. Maybe I was losing my mind. But the deeper I looked, the worse it became. One night I messaged an old college friend, Emily. We hadn't spoken in years. She had taken dozens of photographs during our graduation, and I asked if she still had the originals. The next morning she sent me a folder, 32 images, and I opened them one by one. By the 10th photograph, my hands were shaking. He was there, not hidden, not barely visible. There, standing behind a crowd of students, watching me. I called her immediately. I asked if she remembered him. There was a long pause, then she laughed nervously. What guy? I sent her the image. A few minutes later, she replied, I don't see anyone. I thought she was joking, so I circled the figure, zoomed in, sent it again. This time she stopped responding. The next day she finally texted back. Her message was only 4 words. There is nobody there. I stared at my screen for almost a minute because the figure was obvious. You couldn't miss him. He occupied nearly a quarter of the frame. Yet somehow she couldn't see him. That should have been impossible. But it wasn't the only time it happened. Over the next few weeks, I showed the photographs to 6 different people. Ryan could see him. I could see him. Everyone else claimed the images were normal. No figure, no stranger, nothing. At some point, I stopped asking. I wasn't sure I wanted answers anymore. Then I noticed something that completely changed the story. I was comparing photographs from different years, trying to create a timeline, trying to calculate how quickly he was approaching, when I realized he wasn't always standing behind me. In several images, he was standing exactly where I would be later. I know that sounds confusing. It confused me too. But the more I studied the pictures, the clearer it became. Imagine a photograph from 2015. I'm standing near a park bench. The man is 50 feet behind me. Then I found a photograph from 2011. Same location and different day on different event, and the man was standing in the exact spot where I would eventually stand 4 years later. Not approximately, exactly the same position, the same angle, the same place. At first I thought it was coincidence. Then I found it again, and again, and again. It started happening everywhere, and it was almost as if he already knew where I was going to be, as if he wasn't following me, as if he was waiting for me. That realization stayed in my head for days. Then came the discovery that destroyed whatever sense of reality I still had. I found a photograph from my childhood. Not 16 years old, not high school, childhood. I couldn't have been older than 6. The image showed me standing in my grandparents' backyard, holding a toy truck, smiling at the camera. And there he was, the same man, the same dark clothes, the same expression, the same stare, watching from the edge of the property. I checked the date twice, then 3 times. The photograph had been taken years before I received my first camera, years before social media, years before most of the other images, and that meant one thing. This had never started with me noticing him. He had always been there, always. I barely slept after that. Every room felt different, every reflection caught my attention. Every stranger made my pulse jump, but I never actually saw him, not once. Only photographs and only images, only frozen moments. Then something happened that I still can't explain. One Friday night I came home from work around 8:30 p.m. I live alone. Small apartment, 1 bedroom and 1 hallway, nothing unusual. I fed my dogs, made dinner, watched television. Around midnight, I remembered a picture I'd taken earlier that week. I opened my gallery. That's when I noticed a new image, a photograph I had never taken. The timestamp said 8:14 p.m., 18 minutes before I got home. The picture showed my hallway, dark, empty, except for one thing. At the far end stood the man, closer than he had ever been. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, trying to convince myself it was fake, trying to find evidence of editing. Then I noticed something else. The photograph had been taken from inside the apartment, which meant whoever took it had been standing in my living room. I checked the locks, the windows, the security camera, nothing. No sign of entry, no footage, no explanation, and only the image. The next morning I sent it to Ryan. He called me less than 2 minutes later. The first thing he said was, "He's not behind you anymore." I opened the picture again. My stomach dropped. Ryan was right. For 12 years, the man had always been somewhere in the background, far away, watching, approaching, but now there was no foreground, no distance, no separation, and he had arrived. That should have been the end. It wasn't. 3 nights later, I received another image. Again, I hadn't taken it. Again, it appeared in my gallery by itself. This one was different. The camera was closer. The man filled almost the entire frame. For the first time, his face was completely visible. I wish it hadn't been, because the face looking back at me wasn't a stranger. It was mine. Not identical, not quite, but close enough to make my blood run cold. The same eyes, the same nose, the same jawline, as if someone had spent years learning how to become me. I deleted the photograph immediately, then emptied the trash folder, then backed up my phone, then deleted that too. I wanted everything gone, every image, every trace, and every reminder. For a while it worked. Weeks passed. No new photographs, no strange discoveries, no unexplained files. The fear slowly faded. I started sleeping again, started going outside, started feeling normal. Then last night I received an email, no sender, no subject, no text, just an attachment of one image. I knew what it would be before I opened it. But I opened it anyway, and the photograph showed a man sitting in front of a computer, looking at a collection of photographs, studying them, obsessing over them. The room was dark. The monitor illuminated his face. My face. The picture had clearly been taken from behind him, as if someone were standing over his shoulder, watching. And in the reflection of the monitor, I could see another figure standing in the doorway, far in the background, too far away to identify. But getting closer, much closer. Then I noticed the timestamp. The image wasn't taken yesterday, or last week, or even this year. The timestamp was dated 11 months in the future, and the man sitting at the computer was still me. The worst part isn't that someone keeps appearing in my photographs. The worst part is that I think I've finally figured out what he's doing. He's not following me. He's replacing me, one photograph at a time,